skip it, dud, disappointment, fumbled launch. I called it pretty early that this could be a disaster. And, well, here we are. Hey, what's cracking everybody? Welcome back to Computer Games Hardware. Today on the channel, we're talking Zen 5 launch, and it's been a pretty big disaster. And some people were a bit skeptical and couldn't really understand why I was so annoyed. And you know what, I get it, rightly so. AMD said that they were just being cautious. I think they said an abundance of caution. There were reports that it may just be a typo on the IHS. And the general sentiment was that we would prefer to wait for AMD to delay the launch of the RYZEN 9000 series, get it right, and launch with a really good experience. Well, here we are. In that video, I said I was going to take the cynical approach to AMD delaying their launch because, quite frankly, we've been here before and we've seen this happen before. I said it could be a disaster, and some of the reports coming out and the early benchmarks that were coming out, pointed to there being more trouble than just some typos or being an abundance of caution. But I gotta tell you guys, if I actually knew the full extent of all the bullshit that was going on, I would have lost my mind. And no, listen guys, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I didn't make videos being overly excited about the launch, particularly the 9900X, which, reviews haven't even come out for yet because of such a disastrous launch. Most reviewers have held those ones back to test and retest, so we're still a little bit in the dark on how that CPU performs. So to say that it's been a disaster for AMD, particularly when they've had such an advantage with Intel not being in the best position lately, it feels like a real serious missed opportunity. And as you can probably tell, I can't hide my frustration. I'm really annoyed about it. And you know what? I think you should be too. So we've got a little bit of a problem with AM5. The performance is not meeting expectations. So it wasn't meeting AMD's expectations a few weeks ago. And even with the delay to the launch, it is still not meeting expectations. And, secondhand party reviewers have come out and it's been an absolute disaster. The big problem with Zen 5 is the very marginal performance over the previous generation Zen 4. And that's just in the productivity applications. For gaming applications, it's even worse. And it comes with a myriad of different seemingly unrelated issues that have all coalesced to just make this whole launch an absolute disaster. One of the biggest disappointing things for me personally is that the video editing performance is absolutely terrible. And I think it's quite bad because the high-end Ryzen used to be the content creator CPU. It used to be for guys like me, streamers, and, people who use YouTube to create their content. That was part of the identity. We're now moved into this, well, it's for productivity, but it was never like that. It was supposed to be the CPU for, those who wanted the best in the world, and they wanted the best of both worlds. It was for gamers who create content. And, I think really unfortunately with the introduction of the X3D models in the 5000 series, the X models have started to lose some of that identity. First up, I think the biggest issue is AMD themselves and the claims that they've been making. They claimed that there was going to be a 16% IPC uplift across the board on average with this generation of CPUs. They went on about the gaming performance. They bragged about the power efficiency of these CPUs. And you know what was really frustrating? I even said that AMD tends to under-promise and over-deliver. Well, did I get that one wrong? Certainly. It was almost embarrassing. But you know who should be even more embarrassed? AMD. Because they made some extraordinary claims knowing full well that not only couldn't they live up to these performance metrics, but they had a whole bunch of issues. In some second-party benchmarks, it was found that there is terrible power efficiency, and sometimes Zen 4 is even beating power efficiency on certain applications. There are rumors now that AMD is releasing an AGESA 1A patch to lift the TDPs from 65 watts to 105 watts for these lower end SKUs, the 96 and the 9700X, so they can run at 105 TDP. And the rumors actually were that they were going to increase them to 120 watts. So someone must have been the voice of reason there, because, you know, it'd be pretty insane to be marketing on all this power efficiency and then having a 120 watt 9600X in your rig to, play games with. Just mind boggling. So power efficiency is completely out the window if that's what they're rolling with these CPUs. So look, I think it's not a bad an idea for AMD to do this. They better make sure that they keep the 65 watt mode in a sort of eco mode so people can use it, because that's what people were looking forward to. Now they're 105 watt parts, so they're no different, and that makes Zen 4 a more competitive chip in the power efficiency at their TDPs, which are already much higher than the Zen 5 CPUs. So really disappointing on that front. Hey, just want to jump in here and say, if you're enjoying any of the videos on computer games hardware, please chuck us a like, share, and subscribe. Watching the videos really helps me out. Big hello to everyone who's just joined us, and nod to my OGs who have stuck around for the entire time. Appreciate you all. Let's get back to the video. Those are just the issues on the lower end SKUs, the 96 and the 9700X. For the higher end parts, it turns out that you need a bloody computer science degree just to install the bloody things.
Computers will be twice as powerful, 10,000 times larger, and so expensive that only the 5 richest kings of Europe will own them.
With Gamers Nexus reporting that you need to follow this overly complicated procedure and have a fresh install of Windows just to get it working properly. You have to adjust the power profiles and do all these unnecessary and complicated install procedures to get it up and running. Now, for this audience, for me, that's probably not a big deal and what most people would do anyway. But this is just to get the expected performance. You gotta throw out everything you've learnt from previous RYZEN models that get better performance gains from the higher power modes in Windows. You can only use balance mode for this one, and if you screw the install up, you have to pray to the CPU guides and do a chakra and hope for the best and uninstall Windows and start all over again. It's nonsense. How did they think that this was going to be a good idea? And if I look a bit shitty, I actually can't hold back my frustration. This is because the 9000 series is having serious issues with Windows and its core parking system, which selects the right cores to be used for the right applications. There is also far worse CCD latency on the 9000 series from Zen 4, so that's causing an issue too. And CCDs are the core chiplet dies, so on these chips, they've got the two different dies with the cores on them. Half of them for the 9950X have for single core performance, for those performance and productivity benchmarks and things like that, and then the other 8 cores to help with the multi-threaded performance for games and things like that. And this whole process is not playing well together, and that's what's causing some of the massive issues in the high-end parts like the 9950X and the 9900X. But it gets better. It turns out that this could possibly be affecting performance on Zen 4 as well, and the higher end parts there too. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because turns out everyone's got massive issues everywhere. Intel, AMD, Nvidia have gone silent at the moment, so it's all just fun and games at the moment. Hardware Unboxed have tested the 9000 CPUs now probably about 9,000 times, right? They, in consultation with AMD, broke the news that AMD discovered that to replicate AMD's first-party benchmarks, that you need to put your system into system administration mode to get the same performance that they were getting out of their first-pass benchmarks, because there was a massive discrepancy between Hardware Unboxed benchmarks and AMD's benchmarks. So being the competent reviewers that they are, they consulted with AMD, and AMD weren't too surprised, but this is what they came up with as being the one metric that's the performance delta is coming from. For those of you who don't know, System Administrator Mode is not like your normal administrator mode. It's almost like reverse safe mode. What it does is pretty much removes all your device security. So, quick tech tip here, guys. Please do not run your PC in System Administrator Mode to play games. Don't use this as your daily driver. Not too long ago, I booted into System Administrator Mode to remove a program file folder off my D drive, which was my C drive in an old build. And this program files folder was lingering around and I couldn't delete it, so I went into System Administrator Mode, booted up the command prompt, and I screwed everything up and had to reinstall Windows, the whole works. So that's what we're talking about here. Please don't boot into System Administrator Mode just to play Fortnite or something like that. I don't know why I always pick on Fortnite. It's just the one that comes to mind. So please don't send me the emails. I got an email from an angry kid who said, "Tito, why do you hate Fortnite?" I don't hate Fortnite. It's just what comes to my mind. So big shout out to you, young man. I can't remember your name presently, but it's just the one that I say, buddy. So the best thing about this is that AMD are calling this some kind of Windows bug, when the reality is that that's not what's happening at all. What's happening here is that AMD are just calling their marketing a bug, because in reality they've booted into System Administrator Mode to get the absolute best performance benchmarks, so they could show off how good the games were. And for us, that means that none of us were ever going to see that performance ever, because no one is going to think to boot into System Administrator Mode to boot up their new CPU, to use their CPU as they would expect. So for me personally, I think that AMD are just trying to dress up their stupid marketing as a bug, and this is how first-party benchmarks work now. So be warned, take these with a grain of salt, and this is why we wait for independent reviews. Alright guys, so I've done a little bit of rambling in this video. You can tell I'm pretty pissed off about the whole ordeal, but where do we go from here? What's going on here? What are AMD going to do? What my hope is that they relaunch the whole 9000 series. They actually take some real time to troubleshoot the issues that they're having, get rid of their stupid bugs, figure out how these CPUs can be installed without having to, go out and sacrifice your old CPU to the, tech gods or whatever, and really make this a more approachable and, better launch. So I'm going back to what you guys recommended and say, pull it back, AMD, say we've screwed up and really take it back. Hey, I would even wait until the launch of the X3D models and release a relatively robust stack. So in the very least, there is some more options for consumers to choose that this is what's best for me for gaming performance or for for productivity performance, whatever the case may be. And then we can get a true appreciation where the performance is in the line and what the value proposition is. Because, one thing that really upsets me about this segmentation of the X3D models being the higher end gaming performance and the X models becoming the, productivity CPUs now is that not only does it diminish the X brand and what was a content creating and gaming and best of both worlds CPUs, but they're also now able to push X3D models as these super expensive parts, and no one wants that. No one wants to, it's just not a good way to do business from your loyal customers. And AMD customers are loyal customers. This is not what most people wanted. I think the product segmentation absolutely sucks. I think they're debranding their own products, namely the X models, which were the flagship models for the whole, since the beginning of RYZEN. Right, which restarted this whole. Do I have to go back to the bulldozer days to remind people how that whole fast was? So I think there is something there, and AMD have to fix this. I think they've gone a bit too wild. I know that there's an argument that these are the power efficiency CPUs. These are meant for the these are meant for the data center and all things like that. Someone tell that to AMD's marketing team. Someone tell that to the first-party benchmarks and the gaming performance that they were claiming and the IPC uplift for desktop consumer parts. So it's a bit of a stretch to say that, but these were for that and these were for this. Not according to AMD's marketing. They're trying to sell these to us. So please be aware that, when they're doing this, they're still trying to sell them to you. They're selling them to you with this kind of performance and these issues. And, with Intel being in the state it is at the moment, they're getting their microcode on their CPUs fixed and things like that. You can say it's like a faux pas, but it's not good enough. Like, people are going to buy these products, and there are people who just pick them up off the shelves not knowing what they're getting themselves into. I don't think it's good enough. So yeah, I'm really disappointed about the segmentation across AMD's CPU brand. I think it really sucks. There was a time when, when they were claiming they were producing the best CPU, that was relatively true. And for me, and I think for most people, that's what you want. When you purchase a high-end product like the Ryzen 5950X, you want to be purchasing the best CPU, not the best CPU for productivity. When you're buying an X3D model, you don't want to be buying the best CPU for gaming. You want to be buying the best CPU. So that's where I think that we've lost a little bit of our way with all the segmentation of the, different chips do different things. That's always been true, but making us pay for it and having the performance issues while they're trying to figure this out is not acceptable to me. So for the next generation, what I really think AMD need to seriously consider is upping the core count on their high-end CPUs. So whatever it's going to be called, the 10950X should be a 3 CCD consisting of 8 cores on each CCD. You have 2 of them for the sweet multi-threaded high-cache gaming performance CPU, and then you've got a whole 8-core CCD for that productivity performance. And that would go a really long way to solving some of these issues. I think it's time that they step up the core count, and they probably should have done it with these CPUs. So then you have the 10900X with a 3 CCD 6 core CPUs, so you've got 12 dedicated cores with that sweet gaming performance, and then 1 6-core dedicated to that single core performance. That would be a huge improvement and would go a long way to resolving some of these issues with Windows, ironing out some of those issues, because you've got a better stack, got more cores to utilize. It'll be a better process altogether. And then what they have to do is think about their branding. They've got to rebrand this. So whether it be the X models, whether it be the X3D models, hell, they can even do a new 10 series X models now with 3D. Whatever they do, they've got to simplify the stack and make these CPUs the best CPUs that they can be. That's what the appeal to Ryzen was, having one chip that's going to do everything, not having to have multiple rigs to do different things like video editing and stuff like that. It's the whole appeal to Ryzen. AMD need to make CPUs great again. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. What do you think? I'm pretty annoyed about this whole thing, and obviously this is just the start of the story. So, there's going to be plenty of more details coming out. I think I might take a break from doing AMD content, let some of it soak in, have a little bit of fun in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll come and revisit it as, the news and things progresses. What do you guys think? Have you enjoyed this series on the new Ryzen 9000 series? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know where you're commenting from. I'd love to know where the audience comes from and everything like that. So really appreciate you guys being along. And one thing I do need to address with you guys, you might notice in the background, Spidey has gone missing. So I know it really annoys people when I don't turn on the Ghostbusters sign or Spider-Man has gone missing. Well, Spidey is MIA because my 2-year-old has rediscovered Spidey and has fallen in love with him. So he has been sent on a mission to be some kid's toy. So she's kidnapped him and taken him for his own. So pull one out for Spidey. We're going to retire him in the background. So don't send those emails because you guys get really annoyed at that for some reason. So, when I play with my Rubik's Cubes and don't put them back properly, people get really annoyed. And actually, I'll tell you guys, I've been noticed twice out in the wild. And one of the times, someone stopped me to tell me how annoyed they were that my Rubik's Cubes weren't finished and to bloody finish them. So Spidey's gone missing. Pour one out for Spidey, guys. We may see him again in the near future. We might put something in the background to spice it up a little bit, but there you go. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I've had a really good time making this one. I've been in the shits, but hopefully it makes for good content, and I really hope you've enjoyed watching as well. So I'll keep making these as usual if you keep watching them, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you next time. You have... Dio Cristo mio, Maria Santissima.